Vatican declares its murderous hatred for Bible believers. Therefore the Pope ordered that malicious and abominable sect of malignants, if they refuse to abjure, to be crushed like venomous snake, absolved from all ecclesiastical pains and penalties, general and particular. It released all who joined the crusade from any oaths they might have taken. It legitimized their title to any property they might have illegally acquired, and promised remission of all their sins to such as should kill any heretic. It annulled all contracts made in favor of Vaudois, ordered their domestics to abandon them, forbade all persons to give them any aid whatever, and empowered all persons to take possession of their property. On August 24, 1527, Roman Catholics in France, by prearranged plan under Jesuit influence, murdered 70,000 Protestants within the space of 2 months. The Pope rejoiced when he heard the news of the successful outcome. There was no village of the Vaudois valleys but had its martyrs. The Waldenses were burned. They were cast into damp and horrid dungeons. They were smothered in crowds in mountain caverns. Mothers and babes, and old men and women together, they were sent out into exile in the winter night, unclothed and unfed, to climb the snowy mountains. They were hurled over the rocks. Their houses and lands were taken from them. The children were stolen to be indoctrinated with the religion which they abhorred. Rapacious individuals were sent among them to strip them of their property, to persecute and exterminate them. Thousands of heretics, or Waldenses, old men, women, and children, were hung, quartered, broken upon the wheel, or burned alive, and their property confiscated for the benefit of the king and holy see. The greatest of all the ecumenical councils held in the West previous to Trent had been Innocent III's Fourth Lateran Council, 1215. In the third canon of the council, it is enacted that bishops should inquire at least once a year in every parish, with power, if need be, to compel the whole community in oath to name any heretics whom they know. An aider or abettor of a heretic is himself ipso facto excommunicated. If discovered and publicly excommunicated, he incurs civil death, and those who communicate with such abettor shall themselves be excommunicated. For the heretics themselves, they are to be exterminated, and any prince neglecting to exterminate them is to be deposed by the Pope, who will release his subjects from their allegiance. Even if we would otherwise have doubted what extermination means in its final implications, the word is clearly glossed by St. Thomas Aquinas: removed from the world by death. Experience teaches that there is no other remedy for the evil but to put heretics or Protestants to death. For the Roman Church proceeded gradually and tried every remedy. At first she merely excommunicated them. Afterwards she added a fine. Then she banished them, and finally she was constrained to put them to death. The word says, "They shall put you out of the synagogues. Yea, the time cometh that whosoever killeth you will think that he doeth God's service. And these things will they do unto you, because they have not known the Father nor me." John 16, verse 2 to 3. March 12, 2000. Pope John Paul II admitted the Roman Catholic Church killed the believers and does not know the Father or Jesus. To deny that is to deny the very words of Jesus Christ. That the Church of Rome has shed more innocent blood than any other institution that has ever existed among mankind will be questioned by no Protestant who has a competent knowledge of history. It is impossible to form a complete conception of the multitude of her victims, and it is quite certain that no powers of imagination can adequately realize their suffering. For professing faith contrary to the teachings of the Church of Rome, history records the martyrdom of more than 100 million, a million Waldenses and Albigenses, Swiss and French Protestants, perished during a crusade proclaimed by Pope Innocent III in 1208. Beginning from the establishment of the Jesuits in 1540 to 1580, 900,000 were destroyed. 150,000 perished by the Inquisition in 30 years. Within the space of 38 years after the edict of Charles V against the Protestants, 50,000 persons were hanged, beheaded, or burned alive for heresy. 18,000 more perished during the administration of the Duke of Alva in 5.5 years. On August 24, 1572, Roman Catholics in France, by prearranged plan under Jesuit influence, murdered 70,000 Protestants within the space of 2 months. The Pope rejoiced when he heard the news of the successful outcome. Catholics say only 30,000 were slain. Protestants put the number at 70,000. We prefer the latter figure. If there were 70,000 Huguenots, French Protestants, in Paris the night of the massacre, so much the more justification for the slaughter. We have heard ring out many times the very bells that called the Catholics together on that fatal night. They always sounded sweetly in our ears. You ask if he, the Roman Catholic, were Lord in the land, and you were in a minority, if not in numbers yet in power, what would he to do to you? That, we say, would entirely depend upon circumstances. If it would benefit the cause of Catholicism, he would tolerate you. If expedient, he would imprison you, banish you, fine you, possibly he might even hang you. But be assured of one thing, he would never tolerate you for the sake of the glorious principles of civil and religious liberty. Catholicism is the most intolerant of creeds. It is intolerance itself, for it is truth itself. From the birth of popery to the present time, it is estimated by careful and credible historians that more than 50 millions of the human family have been slaughtered for the crime of heresy by popish persecutors, an average of more than 40,000 religious murders for every year of the existence of popery to the present day. Of course, the average number of victims yearly was vastly greater. During those gloomy ages when popery was in her glory, the reigning despot of the world, and it had been much less since the power of the popes has diminished to tyrannize over the nation, to compel the princes of the earth, by the terrors of excommunication, interdiction, and deposition, to butcher their heretical subjects, and I might add all the millions and millions that they continue to lead to Christless graves. The Church says Martin Luther has never burned a heretic. I reply that this argument proves not the opinion, but the ignorance of impudence of Luther, since almost infinite numbers were either burned or otherwise killed. Luther either did not know it and was therefore ignorant, or if he was not ignorant, he is convinced of impudence and falsehood. For that heretics were often burned by the Catholic Church may be proved from many examples. There are many unquestionable cases of Protestants punished as heretics in nearly all the lands where Roman Catholics have had power, right down to the French Revolution, in other words, right down to 1798. The Catholic Church has persecuted. When she thinks it is good to use physical force, she will use it. Will the Catholic Church give bond that she will not persecute? The Catholic Church gives no bonds for her good behavior. The Church may, by divine right, confiscate the property of heretics, imprison their person, and condemn them to flames. In our age, the right to inflict the severest penalties, even death, belongs to the Church. There is no graver offense than heresy, therefore it must be rooted out. Mr. Raywood Fraser, in the booklet Catholic Words and Actions, presents documentary proof of the intensive persecution of Protestants and non-Catholics in Colombia, South America, between 1949 and 1953. The Catholic Church had the support of the Colombian government in the destruction of many churches, and the liquidation of more than 1,000 documented cases, some of whom were shot, drowned, or emasculated. He says that there is evidence of over 60,000 killed. Pope Pius XII awarded the President of Colombia with one of the highest awards which the Church bestows, and praised Colombia for its example of the Catholic faith. The defense of Roman Catholics to this presentation is as follows. Communists destroy churches because they are God's enemies. Catholics destroy churches because they are God's friends. Against such men-founded churches, Catholics in Latin America should arise and wipe them out with fire. The rector of the Catholic Institute of Paris, H.M.A. Baudrillard, revealed that the attitude of the Church and her leaders toward persecution. When confronted with heresy, he said, she does not content herself with persuasion. Arguments of an intellectual and moral order appear to her insufficient, and she has recourse to force, to corporal punishment, to torture. The following collection of quotes are cited from the American textbook of Popery, which in turn quotes the Directory for the Inquisitors. He is a heretic who does not believe what the Roman hierarchy teaches. A heretic merits the pains of fire. All sects of heretics are condemned, and various punishments are appointed for them and their accomplices. Statutes that impede the execution of the duties which appertain to the office of inquisitors are null and void. They who bury persons knowing them to be excommunicated, or their receivers, defenders, or favorers, shall not be absolved unless they dig up the corpse, and the place shall be deprived of the usual amenities of sepulture. All defense is denied to heretics. For the suspicion alone of heresy, purgation is demanded. Heretics are by right condemned. He who is without the church can neither be reconciled nor saved. By the way, the Bible says, Luke 3:14, do violence to no man. Truth is truth, and may God bless.